child is in love with a human.
Hurricane coming!
And not just any human.
Stand fast! Secure the rigger!
A prince!
I don't have to know him. They're all the same. Spineless, savage, harpooning fish eaters. Incapable of any feeling.
Daddy, I love him!
Maybe the key to Triton's undoing. No. Ariel, what are you doing?
I'm going to see Ursula.
Ariel, no! No, she's a demon! She's a monster!
What I want from you is your voice.
My voice?
I recorded this whole video, but I didn't actually record anything. Let's attempt this again. Alright, so I got 12 shoutouts to give out. And I know, I said I would only do 10 per video, but I want to shout every single one of you out. Unfortunately, we can't do that. So here's 12. Alright, we have Case Lemonade, LOL I'm Random, Jackson Choppin', Team Toothless, Tamisha Thomas, World of Cheesy, Army _ Blink, XO Cherry XO. I think it's XO Cherry XO. Pretty sure. Alea Manj, Cat Person 1811, Charlotte and Percy, and ACH13. Thank you all so much for supporting my channel, and I love every single one of you. And if you want a chance for shoutouts, go ahead and comment that down below in the comments section. I don't know, tell me about your day, tell me a cool fact. I don't know, just tell me something, you know? Alright, so.
He's a human! You're a mermaid!
I don't care.
The only way to get what you want is to become a human yourself.
So The Little Mermaid is actually kind of old now. It came out quite a while back, but The Little Mermaid, the movie, is not as old as the actual story. And if a movie is based off if a movie is based on another story, an older story, there is a lot to unpack there, and I'm here to discover what that is. I'm here to tell you the truth of The Little Mermaid. So here we go.
Yes, hurry home, princess.
So this theory actually doesn't even start with the movie itself. It starts with this other material that Disney came up with after the release of The Little Mermaid.
Ariel, no! No, she's a demon!
A show about The Little Mermaid. I didn't even know this existed, but it does. And more specifically, season 2, episode 8 is where I'm going to get most of my material for this theory. And that is because there is someone in this episode that is very important and shouldn't even be on Disney. Like, what? I'll explain later. In this episode, a man on a boat with his cat is very intrigued with the world underneath. He wants to know what there is. And he's always heard of the tale of merpeople, and he wants to discover if they are real.
Mermaid legends date back to the time of the ancient Babylonians.
He wants to discover the truth. So he hops onto a submarine that looks like a fish with his cat and goes under the ocean. And at first, it's completely normal. It's what you would expect. But then something happens. There is a leak in the submarine. And the leak can be very, very dangerous. And the worst thing you could imagine actually happens to him and his cat. The submarine malfunctions and goes crazy, and it just sinks down into the bottom depths of the ocean. And the lower you go, the less oxygen there is. And the less oxygen there is, the less likely you are to survive. He is going to die if he doesn't do something soon. But he isn't alone. And I'm not talking about just his cat. There is someone there down with him at the bottom of the ocean, not in his submarine, but just outside it. The Little Mermaid, Ariel, she was on the surface again, and she sees this man hop onto the submarine with his cat. She follows the submarine, but then she sees this submarine malfunction. She freaks out, she gathers her friends, and they try to help him out. They patch up the leak, even though King Triton doesn't want to. He helps them out. And the submarine goes floating up into the surface, and he is alive with his cat. But not before actually seeing the merpeople. They saw Ariel. He lived to tell the tale. But the most interesting thing about this episode is his name. And we get to discover what his name is at the end of the episode. His name is Hans Christian Andersen. Now, why the heck do we care about his name? What does this man, Hans Christian Andersen, have to do with anything related to theory? Well, it has to do everything related to the theory, because Hans Christian Andersen was in fact a real man, not made up by Disney. He was a real man, and this man was the original author of The Little Mermaid. He created the original story of The Little Mermaid. Why the heck is he in the same show as The Little Mermaid? It makes no sense, really. And I'll explain why it doesn't make sense later on in this video. Let's learn a little bit about Hans Christian Andersen, because his story actually relates completely to this theory, and it's quite interesting as well. More specifically, his love life. According to many historians, he is believed to be queer because he wrote love letters to this man who he absolutely loved. He literally says something like, "I love you the way a man loves a woman, and this love should remain a mystery." It is very clear that he loves him. But unfortunately for him, the man didn't reciprocate the same feelings for him, I think. Unless he did. But he didn't act upon them. Unless he did. But it didn't matter in the end because he ended up marrying another woman. This man broke Hans Andersen's heart. But luckily for us, that means that he wrote The Little Mermaid. Yup, The Little Mermaid is actually inspired by his queer love story. It makes me love The Little Mermaid even more. Like Hans Christian Andersen, The Little Mermaid in the original Little Mermaid has a tragic love story ending. And this is that story. But before I go on, before I tell you the original love tragic story of The Little Mermaid, I have something for you. So there is this app that I absolutely love and adore and use all the time. And a lot of you have asked me, where the heck do I get my clips from? This is where I get my clips from. Playon Cloud. This allows you to record shows and movies that can be seen offline anywhere and anytime you want. This is what I use all the time for my YouTube. This is where I get my clips from. If you go down in the description, you'll see a link, and if you click it now, you'll be able to get 7 free recordings for 7 days. And after that, you just have to pay $2.99 each month. $2.99 a month. That is nothing. That is the perfect price for just something so incredible. If you end up not liking it, you can cancel anytime and anywhere. There's really no commitment at all. Anyways, again, the links are down below in the description if you'd like to try them out. It's not sponsored. Alright, so the original story of The Little Mermaid. Like in the movie, this Little Mermaid, who doesn't have a name, but we're gonna call her Ariel, she loves and is fascinated with the land above, especially humans.
It looks just like
He's a
him.
human. You're a mermaid.
I don't care. It even has his eyes.
And in this story, you have to be 15 years old to be able to travel up into the surface. On her 15th birthday, she goes and travels up into the surface, and there she sees a boat that carried a man who she adored. But then there was like this big storm.
Hurricane attack. Secure the rigging.
She ended up saving the prince. Fast forward, she's back in the ocean, and curiously, Ariel asks her grandma, "Do humans die the way we do?" And the answer is, yes, of course, dummy. Humans do die the way we do. They don't live as long as we do, though. We live up to 300 years. They have much shorter lifespans, but, and it is a big but, mer people cannot have life after death. They just simply become foam in the ocean. Humans, on the other hand, do have a soul and they get to live after death. She tells her that the only way to go around this is if you get a human to love you and to marry you, then they will in turn give you a soul. And the Little Mermaid is fascinated with this. She goes to the Wicked Witch of the ocean, the equivalent of Ursula, I guess, asks her to turn her into a human. Which she is like, yeah, of course I'll turn her into a human, but it will feel as if a knife is going through your tail to create legs. She's like, that's fine, I'll do it. But every time you walk, it will feel as if knives are going into your feet every single step you take. She's like, that's fine, totally cool with that. I'm going to take your voice. But not like in the movie. She's going to take her voice by cutting her tongue off. So she can't talk whatsoever anymore. She goes up into the surface, in freaking pain by the way, naked, and the prince discovers her naked. Takes her into the palace and takes care of her. The prince does end up caring for her and loving her, but not in a romantic way. He loves her as a father would love their daughter. The thing about this is that if the prince ends up marrying somebody else, then she will die and become foam in the ocean instantly. He ends up falling in love with this other person, and they get married. And this one over here, Ariel, has to dance in their wedding with their feet all bloody and has to die that day. very depressed. She's like, okay, I'm just gonna jump off the freaking boat and just die. But then she sees her sisters come up. Their hair is gone. They're like, we traded our hair for this dagger or knife. I don't know what it was. If you kill the prince and if his blood drips down your feet, you will become a mermaid again and you will get to live the rest of your life. She's about to kill him. But then she's like, I can't kill him. I love him. So she just throws the knife into the ocean again, and then she throws herself off onto the boat. But the daughters of the wind come to her and they're like, oh, you did such an amazing deed not killing him and saving him. We're gonna grant you life in the way of us, I guess. So she becomes a daughter of the wind as well. And I guess happily ever after without love, but that's fine. Who needs love? Just like Hans Andersen didn't need love. But don't worry though, none of that even happened. None of this is real, not even in the Disney universe. What? Think about it. If Hans Andersen exists in the Disney world, the person who created this story, the person who created... I'm having a lot of technical difficulties. Anyways, he created her. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, but he just got inspired when he saw The Little Mermaid. He went down there, saw The Little Mermaid, and it inspired him to write the story of The Little Mermaid. No, you're wrong. Here's why. Because in the beginning, before he even went down in the ocean, he drew a picture of a mermaid. Not just any mermaid. He drew a picture specifically of the Little Mermaid. He drew a picture of Ariel. Before he even saw Ariel, how could he have known how Ariel looked like before even seeing her? It makes no sense. And even if he went down in the ocean, his submarine failed, right? It sunk down where there's little oxygen. The less oxygen there is, the less likely you are to survive, and the more likely you are to hallucinate. The Little Mermaid was fresh in his memory because he drew a picture of her before going into the ocean. So, if he did go into the ocean and lost oxygen and hallucinate, and because he was there to look for mermaids and wanted to see a mermaid, he most likely hallucinated the Little Mermaid, the same mermaid that he drew back up in the surface. What most likely ended up happening is that a rescue team went down there and rescued him. He didn't get saved by the Little Mermaid. He got saved by a regular old rescue team. The Little Mermaid is not real, not even in the Disney universe.
Tommaso, do we really need to fish near the island?
A monster! You worry too much.
I don't know. What if the old stories are true?
What happens when she sees you? When anyone sees you?